Good morning. I'm Kelly Reed Dalton for the Central Coast Heritage Tree Foundation, and this is our series called Tree Friends. And we take a field trip to see local land stewards in the area talk about their favorite. Oh, ha ha ha! That was a wood rat.
I did warn you.
Field trips! We go look at our favorite trees on our favorite land and find out what's happening there. And we have lots of wood rat nests around, and they are active this morning, so that's awesome. But I want to introduce you to one of my longtime dear friends. This is Melanie Blankenship, my tree sister. And we're here on her land, and I want her to tell us kind of like where we are and give us a sense of the space that we are in right now so that we can have this, this is a field trip. Tell us where we are.
So if we go by the address, we are in Templeton still, but
Awesome.
technically we're in the Santa Rita mountain range is where we're at. So technically Dover Canyon is my road, and we're literally southwest facing towards the Pacific Ocean. So it's easier to say it that way because yes, this is you can go just a couple feet ahead of yourself and you're in a drastic different terrain.
Exactly.
But we're high up on our property right now. You're on my home ranch, and yeah, that's the best way to describe it. Dover Canyon, but we're not in a canyon because we're up on the top of the hill. So technically, I've been in this family because it's my husband's family's ranch. I've been in this family for 32 years. I've presently been living on this property for 25 years. But yes, we were high school sweethearts, and this is where we spent most of our time in high school and college. We'd always have to come home to the ranch. I became who I am because of growing up in this community in Paso Robles, but realistically, this ranch conformed me differently because back in the day, I thought it was important to only focus on growing really good food. But then being a part of this longtime family ranch and realizing it's not necessarily about conservation when you have this much area. It's also preservation, protecting, but also educating. And I don't think I need to always live until at least 200 years old just to be able to understand the amount of education I still need to understand this property. So
Awesome. Okay, so we need 200 years.
mm-hmm.
We're gonna find out a little bit more and take a walk into some other areas on this ranch. This gorgeous. It's really like a botanic garden. There's so much plant life that is. It's been here for at least 200 years, right, and more.
So our family has been in here since the 60s.
Okay.
My father-in-law purchased the land to run and train Tennessee Walker ponies. He wanted the hills because he wanted to naturally exercise the horses instead of having to create and make machinery to exercise the horses.
Wow.
And I'll have to tell you, there's a legacy that lives on with my daughter who also understands what grandpa was doing, and maybe she's winning in a lot of her divisions, but there's a lot to be said what this ranch has also given her to be able to be who she is.
And that's where we get that longevity and passing information down, and to have that historical record through family is amazing.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
There's my desire in understanding this ranch came from learning about beneficial insects, right? That's honestly, how we need, everything to be full circle. Everything has to complement each other to be able to get to that result of what we're trying to do. Yes, my main focus in the beginning was growing food, growing good plants and growing good food. But it can't be just that. It has to have a little of this, a little of that. And this ranch has definitely that description in it. It's, you're not just all oak woodlands. When I say I raise bees, they're like, okay, so what kind of nectar? How do I answer that, Kel? Like, look around us. Like, and I'm witnessing our honeybees that are not native, right? Let's disclose that. Honeybees are a non-native species to California, but I'm witnessing them. There's all this history that says bees won't do or bees won't go. But when you visualize your honeybees making a beeline to a flower they're not even supposed to be able to get nectar to, it's fun for me to watch the mutations or the needs of nature to be able to figure itself out and how to survive.
So you can tell Melanie has a huge amount of knowledge and has been on this land observing over a long period of time. And so we're not going to cover everything in this one interview because there's just too much. But we're going to take a little trip over to an open space where there's been some clearing, and she's going to tell us a little more about that story specifically. And then I just love how this is really what human nature interface is all about, right? Humans interacting and participating with a natural system that's already well in place, and doing it with cooperation and intelligence is just one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm so excited that I got to be here today with Melanie. A little walk just up the hill a bit to this space that's been kind of cleared. So tell us what happened here.
So the end of last year, after all those major rainstorms that we had, we would think that it was enough moisture, right? But we kept smelling smoke after a huge lightning storm that we had had. And we made a little journey up here. Sure enough, had been smoldering. It had been probably about 3 days, because that was when the lightning storm had happened. It was 3 days. It was still smoldering. And so
was this March or so?
Yeah, end.
March. Yeah. Okay, after the
end
big
of
rain.
Last year. So yeah, and you would thought that everything would be wet enough, right? And this is where fire suppression and understanding of fire really came to our forefront, because here you would have thought that it was wet enough, forest fires, it's not fire season anymore, but yet lightning hit an old grove of ironwood mixed with scrub oak and every understory vegetation underneath that had not been touched in years. It's thick. You can kind of get a visual of what this looked like when you look up that way, and it was terrifying, right? So we gently removed, cut our way through here with chainsaws and loppers to get to where it was smoldering, and it wasn't flaming, but it was red and warm and continuously smoking. But we started to realize as we cut through it a little that it had plenty of fuels, and the overgrowth and the layers of overgrowth that had taken place underneath here could have continued to grow. Yes, the top looked wet enough, but as you see, it happened out in the middle out here, but even now we have a live spring that's running through it. But all throughout here was all just dead, dry growth that was not wet. It had intertwined itself. And so, naturally, that I guess is a way of nature taking care of itself and cleaning. Fire is its best way of cleaning nature, right? But how do we live within nature? I can't sit here and say, yes, let's clear cut the whole thing because, oh my goodness, it's fire. We have to manage this. We have to be better about it. Really? And almost a year, look at all the new growth.
Yeah, point out some of these plants that we have here, so they wouldn't have really even been visible underneath all of that growth.
Not at all. The nightshades, there's baby ironwood, baby brachiuses, there's plants I don't know. Look at all the lilies popping up already.
There's that coffee berry and all the lilies over there.
Look how healthy it is too.
Yeah.
The lilies are like super excited. Okay, so I'm going to call it, it's wrong botanical because I know the botanical name has changed, and I can't remember the new one, but it's mimulus, or also known as monkey flower. I'm watching them pop up everywhere out here, and all the new baby growth of annual growth it is happening. And so they would have never been able to survive if we would have continued to allow it just to thicken through. And do we need to address the whole area? Not necessarily. We need to just manage it differently. Skirting up trees, cleaning up, down trees to the point where it becomes fire fuel, but not to the point where it takes nature's natural balance away. It's always that middle ground that we need to learn. And I'll be honest with you, this is coming from over time of witnessing how things grow, mutate, change, adapt. I grow Mediterranean plants, Asian plants, European plants, And I'm so impressed and always amazed by how true California native plants actually grow and adapt, and yet they're so unrecognized in what we're doing and where we're growing. And so, this place has definitely taught me more than I ever knew I was going to learn.
So here we are under this gorgeous mother oak tree, and I just want you to give us an idea of like your greatest lesson in all of this, or what would you say to someone else in a similar situation with a ranch like this on some pristine hillside on the Central Coast that we're so lucky to live in?
Yes.
What is?
And sometimes I think we just need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and smell it. We need to sense it. We need to feel it. We need to see it, and just love it at the same time. And I say that love in an open heart because, I understand there's things that need to be done for business, for environment, but like I keep teaching and I keep emphasizing, let's find our middle ground. Not go one side versus the other.
I love that so much. And now I've got a little Yerba Buena friend in my ear thanks to the beautiful woodland. And Melanie, I'm so happy that I got to be here with you today to talk about all of this. And I know we're going to be back because there's so many lessons here and so much for you to teach us. So thank you for having us today, and we look forward to being back soon. And if you enjoyed this video and want to go on more field trips with us, make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can come back and check us out later.